So let's jump right back in to day 3, part 1 of the Cult Mom murder trial. Right now they are on a lunch break, so I want to give you an update of what transpired this morning. This is Investigator Cruz. And Investigator Cruz actually met with Chloe while she was in the hospital. She shares that when she arrived, she let Chloe know that she was just there to kind of check in on her. I would say befriend her, kind of get her to trust her, and just to kind of see how she was doing. She wasn't required to talk, and that Chloe was essentially the one that wanted to start writing and responding to her. She reminded her, look, you don't have to do this, and she was like, no. I mean, Chloe didn't say no, but Chloe was like, yeah, I'm going to just write. One of the things that they did go over was a conversation that transpired on speakerphone between Chloe and her daughter's father, Ryan. Let's get into that conversation. So initially she was just asking her, like, did you go downstairs, etc. And she shares that she went back downstairs to get, the knife that she used. She also shared exactly what she wrote here, that she went back down. I was in the same state for almost 2 months and it was getting worse and no one cared at all. She also shares about the trusts, and I guess they were talking about the money that they had, etc., and the cult and the religion that she was in, that she was sharing. So she asked her, like, is it a religion? What religion is it? So she said, not only it's religious to Christ, it's used to hack the system and get free money and houses. Then she jumps on the phone with Ryan. And at this point, Ryan is asking her, like, I need to understand, why did you do this? And she tells him, it felt safest. Then I felt horrible. I couldn't handle being with the group anymore, and you left no alternative with certain threats. Taking the money and not letting me just buy land and be with her as long as needed. You had a whole group to take care of and blame me for all of the problems. Now, while she's writing these different things, she is stating, or he's responding and saying, that's not true. We helped you in what we could, etc. And that, she's like, no, except everybody treated me like it was. Like she was saying it was always her fault. I only existed if I moved first. The girls always hated that in different places, separating us. I have no idea. All I know is in that moment when she says separating us, she goes, hold on, Ryan, you separated the girls? And he was like, well, and she quickly is like, Ryan, she's telling the truth. She's being honest with me. It's time for you to be honest with me. I mean, the way she's talking to Ryan, I thought the entire time she was Chloe's mother. And Ryan was like, well, yeah, I separated them because I thought that it was better. And, it was a better way for them to get along, etc. So she went from having essentially these two people to being by herself. I don't know if that impacted, her mental state. Yes, you constantly told me I kept dividing and remanding. So essentially she was the one being accused of dividing him and the 3 wives. Now, I will tell you, are the 2 additional wives, that Justin Jason, who testified yesterday, talked about the fact that every single day prior to her getting sick, all they did was play with the baby. The girls enjoyed themselves. But once she started getting sick, it completely changed the environment, the way everyone felt, because they constantly were like on eggshells having to take care of Chloe. All right, and then she responds and says, you refused to listen, and how many times did I state how I felt things would go if I remained in this state? I screamed and I begged, and you didn't take me seriously. I'm dying to see what Ryan looks like, because Ryan was just very passive. He was like, no, we listened to you. We tried to help. Very calm and very passive. While she's over here yelling, she's loud, while she's talking to Ryan, very reprimanding. And she responds, because you taught me, and I want to specify the reason she responded this is because he was like, no, you were able to make decisions too. And she responds, because you taught me the message of inner layers and black magic with what you were doing to her if I didn't listen. And then her last part was, I saw what you were insisting, but no worries, nobody will believe me. So again, this is her kind of talking to Ryan, and that detective is in the middle telling him what she stated. And he was, just very calm and collected. She then starts asking, well, did you arrive with her at the hospital? Were you with her? So he was responding to that. Now, the following day, she goes back and she then calls the mom, Chloe's mom. And so Chloe's mom is just telling her, I love you. And Chloe's like, please see if you can talk to him, see if he gives you any money from the trust. Please talk to him. Again, we'll go back to the trust where they had $60,000. So she had $60,000 because the account was in her name. And that's what they then go over is the baby bag. When they looked in the baby bag, they saw that she had a Bible. This showed that she had multiple blank checks, and the checks were in her name, a debit card, and $1,000. And the $1,000 was given to Chloe's mom. Now, what kills me about all of this is that the entire time, everyone, including this detective, wants to be like, no, that was her account. That was her money. If this was a different case, I feel like they would be asking, why does someone that doesn't work, along with this entire group, have $66,000? Are we not concerned about the origin? Apparently not. She literally begged her mom, or was writing to her mom saying, please ask him if we could use the money from the trust. So she was present when Chloe is asking her mom to please talk to this husband. Because while that account was in her name, she was not able to access it freely, right? As I mentioned, they are on lunch. They're going to come back and continue with the criminal investigator. What's interesting is that the criminal investigator really went in there and built her trust with her. Was making sure she was feeling well, she needed anything, etc. So guys, pay attention to that, because when you're sometimes at your weakest point, that's when they're going to come in and really get you to trust them. And just so you know, they can lie to you. It's completely legal. So just wanted to share that because I thought it was interesting how much time she spent. Do you need ice? Are you cold? Have you been eating? She did not care about her, which rightfully so. I mean, a baby died. I too would want to be like, what are we doing? Why'd you do this? So I will keep you guys posted. Talk to you soon. Chloe Driver is currently on trial for unaliving her 1-year-old daughter. Now, the prosecution is stating that she did this because she was in a cult where there was a plural marriage. She didn't want to be in that plural marriage any longer. She essentially wanted a husband to herself. And that's why she did that. And the defense is stating absolutely not. She, in fact, was not sound of mind. She was having so many mental health issues. She begged for help from her husband, from those sister wives, from the husband's friend, anyone that would listen. And because they didn't believe in modern medicine, they wouldn't get her any help. In addition to that, there's multiple proofs of documents where she actually tried to leave on multiple occasions. She was either dragged back and forced to go back with them, or she was then kept away from her daughter, who was breastfed exclusively. Now, this is the final testimony of Officer Cruz. If you want to see any other testimony or even the defense's opening statement as well as the prosecution, just go to the videos before. Let's get into it. This is Criminal Investigator Cruz. Criminal Investigator Cruz shares that she actually went to the hospital to see Chloe because Chloe not only stabbed her child, she also stabbed herself multiple times. So she was in the hospital with her trying to get an idea of what was happening. She didn't understand. Initially, they thought, well, did someone do this to her? Did someone do this to the baby? She, Chloe immediately said, no, I did it. And she starts writing on these sheets because she can't talk. She has, this is blocked because she stabbed herself, so she can't speak. She can only whisper. She shares that she asked for help. Nobody would help her. Nobody would listen to her. She shares that She tried to get away. She couldn't. And she then asked to speak to her husband. So she calls the husband on speaker. He keeps asking why. And she just keeps writing and stating, you guys kept acting like I was the problem. I told you I needed help. No one would listen to me, etc. Now, in November, so this all happened in December of 2020. In November, Chloe had actually texted her parents, please come and get me. He's hurting me. Her parents, while they're on the way there, her husband discovers that she's in contact with her parents and that they're coming to pick her up and the baby. He proceeds to take the baby and leave. So when her parents arrive to pick her up and take her back home, they come back without the baby. Chloe is begging to see her child, and there's Facebook messages and text messages where he is taunting her. And she is exclusively breastfeeding the baby. She made a video. Why? Because he forced her to return. So before she left, she made this video. Let's watch it together.
It's 11/27/2020. I'm being forced to get into a truck with Benjamin Ben Mikhail or Ryan Joyce to see my daughter again because he has kept her away from me. I do not know where she is, and he won't tell me anything. He's kept her with people that I don't really know well, and I don't know what's going on with her. And I'm being forced to get in the car and go with him to be able to see her. And I don't even know if I'm actually going straight to her, but I'm doing whatever I think I can to get to her. Her name is Hannah Nicole, driver.
Now, from prior testimony, we do know that she was forced to get in the car. An Uber was sent to her. She had no idea where she was going, where her daughter was located, none of that information. Additionally, the criminal investigator states that upon arrival at the hospital, Chloe had a black eye. And it seemed like it was a something that happened days prior because the black eye was actually healing in that moment. They also talked about the fact that they went over the funds, the financials, the fact that he had 2 people apply to loans, get all this money, and he essentially moved the money around. She wasn't able to access the money. Now let's look at the testimony a little bit more. Also, just for context, when she was asking for help, when she was saying, I need help, please, she was very irritable. She was scared all the time. They gave her CBD. That was the only thing that she could get. And the reason being is because her husband stated that because she was breastfeeding their child, she needed to stay pure. So let's look at the video.
And that she told you that when she started that CBD, that it was an increase in paranoia, correct?
Yeah, I think she said she got worse.
Yeah. And then you asked if Jason had ever hurt her, correct?
Yes.
And you were direct. You asked if it was Mr. Spillers, correct?
I did.
All right. And that was after you had already, talked to Benjamin and Mr. Spillers, correct?
That's correct.
All right. And she told you that he had hurt her maybe once or twice, correct?
That's correct.
All right. And then
Husband's
that's where
friend.
you also learned that additional information about that Asheville incident, correct?
I had already known about the Asheville incident.
No, that she brought it up to you.
Yes, she brought it up, yes.
Okay, because prior to that, you had learned about it from an independent source, but not necessarily had spoken to Ms. Driver about it.
Correct.
All right. And she told you at that time that she didn't trust them and that she felt scared.
Yes.
Okay. And she didn't tell you who them was, but she didn't use a singular in that sense. It was them.
It was just them, and I asked her who. She didn't give it to me.
She didn't give it to you. And that she also told you at that particular time that she just wanted to die with her daughter.
That's correct.
Okay. And throughout these 2 days that you spent with her, she was emotional.
Very.
She was crying.
Yep.
And was indicating some level of remorse after realizing what had happened, correct?
I don't know if it was an indication of remorse, but
okay.
Yes.
But she was showing an emotional and physical
She
response
was.
that you could see and document. Is that
Absolutely.
fair to say? Okay. And then you decided it would be a good time to contact her mom.
Yes.
Okay. And she, at that point, had not talked to, as far as you knew, she had not talked to her mom Renee or Eric Driver, correct?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, and again, we think that the first time she talked to someone on the phone was with Benjamin with you, correct? As far as we know.
That's correct.
But she certainly didn't have a cell phone.
She certainly didn't have a cell phone.
And she was in the ICU.
That's correct.
And didn't have a phone or anything that you could tell within reaching distance from what you
Not
were
that I
calling.
saw.
Okay. So you were able to get her mom, Renee Driver, on the phone. And there was a little bit of difficulty, at least talking to her. So she suggested to do a FaceTime.
That's correct.
All right. And so you did that FaceTime call with, on your phone?
Yes.
Okay.
On my work phone.
All right. And she immediately kind of had another emotional response to seeing her mom.
That's correct.
Okay. And upon seeing her mom, or first hearing her voice and then deciding a FaceTime call would be better, she had written down, "I'm sorry I killed her, I should have stayed."
Yes.
Okay. And then, one of the things that also came out in that was that Renee asked you point blank, did she do these injuries to herself? Because she didn't necessarily know. So she asked you that, correct? On that FaceTime call, do you recall that?
Yeah.
Okay. And that was when you communicated to her that she had, in fact, at least as far as you knew from your investigation thus far, that they were self-inflicted.
That's correct.
Okay. Did you become aware of what exactly Ms. Driver's injuries were, or how many wounds there were?
So I saw the 2 wounds while taking the pictures, but I did not actually get the medical records until much later. So I did not know of the internal actually.
All right, she goes on to talk about the different things that were in the diaper bag, the fact that there was CBD and some type of carrot with CBD substance, etc. They didn't know what that was. They, of course, had to get it tested. They did talk about the fact that Jason seemed to be very involved, calling her, reaching out to her, which is that family friend, to give his opinion on what happened. And that they started investigating the relationship more and more because they noticed that she was scared. She was scared to say who was, hurting her. When they asked her who did the black eye, she wouldn't respond. So they did automatically start doing an investigation into the relationship. But again, she was crying. She was upset in the hospital. And that was pretty much her testimony. Now, there was another investigator that spoke. I will kind of go over that in a little bit. And we're starting day 4 today. I will keep you guys updated. This is just a horrible case because that baby, of course, was an innocent victim in all of this. But there's a lot of circumstances that this mom was dealing with, which is horrible. Talk to you soon.